another thing. Oh, sorry. Hello, welcome to the show. Sorry, a little bit late. It's slow news week again, and all of a sudden, just as we were going on air, some really interesting news came in. So we were preparing for that. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Welcome to the Pro Synth Network show, episode 220 on the 21st of June. Happy Solstice Day, which was technically yesterday, but kind of goes into today. And now the nights are drawing in. The days are getting shorter, technically. That's depressing, isn't it? Summer's just... I hate that. Why is it? Summer just starts and then everything starts to go to pants. Anyway, welcome. You'll hopefully enjoy the next couple of hours or so of random chit-chat and talking ballcocks and all that kind of stuff. So welcome to the show, and I hope you've had a great week. It's been mad as a box of frogs, here, there and everywhere, I think, between all three of us this week. So apologies if we kind of maybe go off kilter or have a slight meltdown, or, in Ken's case, fall asleep, or just wake up. You can't be sleepy, he literally just woke up, the lazy bugger. Right. Anyway, let's get the boring regular stuff out of the way, because it's boring and it's regular. Unlike me at the moment. Give us a like, a comment, a subscribe, or a share. That would be fantastic if you could, because it helps get the channel numbers up and the awareness out there. And we're slowly growing. We're almost up to 4,100 subscribers. Whoa! We're a long way off, where we would maybe not so much like to be, but it'd be cool, wouldn't it, if we could be up there. Why have I suddenly gone slightly out of focus? There we go. So yeah, if you could give us a like, a comment, and a subscribe and share. If you want to talk to us during the show, by all means, use the chat features of the preferred medium with which you're watching us. Whether it's YouTube, which I think is where the bulk of you are, or Twitch, or Facebook, or Twitter, or X, or whatever he calls it these days. You can talk to us through all of those mediums whilst watching the show, and we will see your comments. And if you want to ask us a question, stick a big capital Q in front of that so that we can see it, and we put it in the bucket and proceed to ignore it for as long as possible. If you want to support us, which is fantastic because you all do, by turning up, you can support us by subscribing to us on Patreon. We have a Patreon page, patreon.com/Pro Synth Network. We have, I think, what did I say yesterday? It's about 130 odd subscribers on Patreon at the moment. We've only been doing that for like a couple of months. I thought that was incredibly good. Let me see if I can bring up the right page here, because I think, is this one? I think this is the one. There you go. Look at that. Pro Synth Network. And if you join us there, you get early access to video content. You get to read Wagoo's comments. You get free patches for Cherry Audio Chroma, and for the Modal Cobalt 8. All courtesy of James Dyson, as is the Extra Life sound set for the GX80. All courtesy of James Dyson. You get some fat Italian bloke talking 3 years ago about why he loves the Polybrute 6. There'll be another one about the Polybrute 12 soon. You'll get the Alex Ball interview without adverts. You'll get Mark Barnes sounds for your JDXA and your Hydra Synth and other bits and bobs in there as well. There's a Pro 800 mini sound set for Korg Wave State in there. Lots of stuff, and we're going to be adding to it as we go on. So if you want to support us there, it's just a minimum of $2 a month. And you can also support us by joining as a YouTube member. Same deal, $2 a month. And we try and give you all of that free stuff as well. So we appreciate your patronage there and your support for the channel, keeping us going. You can, of course, donate during the show or after the show using YouTube, Super Chat, Super Stickers, or the big fat thanks button. Any of those will work, and if you want to donate a penny or a pound or $1 million, you can. It's entirely up to you. Although I think the chances of somebody giving us £1 million would be pretty slim. But anyway, you live in hope. So there we go. I think that's pretty much it. We're all over the socials, as the kids say these days. There we go. You can find us on all of those places. Facebook is the one where we tend to congregate the most. Still get member applications down there every day. Most of them we let in, some of them we don't because they're bots. And all you've got to do, if you haven't already joined us on Facebook, let me put this out there. We do this every now and again. You get asked 3 questions to prove that you are human. So please answer those questions. Otherwise, we can't let you in because we're not sure if you're real or not. So there you go. That's where to find us. That's what to do with us. That's how to fund us. And I think that is all of that stuff out of the way. Welcome to everyone that's in the chat, especially our chat moderators, Mr. Andrew Brooks. He's there. I think I've seen Ben from Musings in there, and I've not seen Andy Synth Addict just yet, but he does normally turn up at some point during the proceedings. Those guys are the guys that will keep you horrible lot in line. Not that you need it, because you're all wonderful and well-behaved people. So thank you. Let's bring in, well, here we go. Dopey first. Let's bring in Dopey. Wake up, Kev.
What? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have picked up this book.
Oh, it's not your Pets with Tourette. Yeah, no, put that down. Put it down.
No.
No.
Oh, I wish I had an Afghan hand that said that.
Put it down.
Yes. Okay. Let me
Step away from the book.
Step away from the Pets with Tourette's.
How are you?
Good evening. Yes. Yes, I was a lot more tired than I thought I was.
Dear, oh dear.
Oh, yes. So, yes, all good. All
good.
Perpendicular. Excellent. And what have you.
Lovely. Any interesting things pass through your hands this week of a synthesizer variety?
That we can mention on here?
That we can mention on here?
Well, yeah, I had a quick go on Brian Ferry's it's a 200A yesterday, didn't I? In the back of a van. Won't go into that.
I was trying to think of some obscure Roxy Music joke that would go with fondling a Wurlitzer in the back of a van.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's something there somewhere, but my brain was just too idle. I can't think of anything at the moment.
Yeah. Well, I'm the same.
If somebody
a Vanalon.
Yeah, that's a bit tenuous, but
yeah. It's a new definition for the word tenuous. Yeah. Okay.
There's a challenge for the chat. Come up with some sort of Roxy Music related pun based on Kent fondling Brian Ferry's Wurlitzer.
I thought you were just going to finish the sentence there.
In the back of a van. Have a long, yeah. There we go. So, yeah, there's your challenge for today. Good to see you, mate, as always.
Hang on.
Doesn't feel like 24 hours since I last... Well, it wasn't 24 hours since I last saw you.
Well, it wasn't. It was more like...
People have started to talk.
They are.
Indeed. And, of course, it wasn't 24 hours since we last saw this guy, who's still wearing the same shirt as yesterday, I think. Unless you've got lots of them.
It's a tent.
It's a tent.
I'm communicating with you, man, via lead lines.
Okay. Anyway, how are you?
It's got to do with you. Getting very personal, Robbie.
I know. It's my job.
Well, that was a short conversation.
Yeah, that wasn't it? Bye.
Yeah. Laters.
I'm good. I didn't have much time to look at the subjects for today.
Well, honestly, I wouldn't worry too much.
Well, when I then looked at what we have, I went, oh, that's all right then.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's good. So
it's slow news.
All good.
Indeed.
All good.
Excellent stuff. Well, let's crack on because, time is money, as they say, or not.
Oh, you know what I didn't say?
Go on.
No one here knows. I mean, some of them that watched Robbie's pub. We did our first live stream for the APPE group, 30,000 members.
Apes.
Did the first 11. We peaked at 11.
APPE, isn't that just a fancy way of saying ape? Are you all apes?
Yeah, well, yeah, there is that. We peaked at 11 viewers.
What does APPE stand for?
Adobe Premiere Pro Editors.
Wow.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, 11. Peak. It was mostly 8.
It's a niche subject. It's a niche subject.
What, with 30,000 members, it's not? Yeah.
Maybe the rest are out partying.
Yeah.
No,
they were all at Stonehenge throwing orange paint at things.
Yeah, 29,989.
Yeah.
your members have probably just binned Adobe because of all that kerfuffle that they've just been having. So
That's all now sorted, and that's not what's happened. But I understand why.
no.
Say
Yeah, I know. I've been watching with not bated breath, because that would be weird. But I've been keeping tabs on it because I'm an Adobe user, and when you read it properly, you can see that it's actually nothing to get worried about. But hey, it's the internet; they need their dopamine rush.
They do. People
Gotta be
dressing
complaining
up
about something.
dressing up opinions as facts.
I know. Terrible. Who would do that?
Me? No.
Who would do that in their right minds? Anyway, moving along. There has been a little bit of news, and you two, I hope, have been doing your homework that I set. And we'll talk about certain things a little bit later on.
Yes.
But first of all, I'm going to indulge myself because as a Reason user, it's nice to be able to say, hey, there's a new version of Reason. It's called Reason 13.
Now in grey.
It came out just the other day. And I've been playing with it for a little while, and it's okay. Some of the improvements are good, some maybe not so much, but we'll talk about those in just a minute. Before we do, let's watch a video. So as you can tell, the hook there is your sounds faster, and it's all about workflow, baby. They've improved the sequencer, so there you go. There's been a sequencer upgrade. I have to say, it's better than it was. It's still not maybe where a lot of people want them, but it's much better than it was. It kind of works still in the Reason-y kind of way, but in also a way that a lot of us have been asking for. It's nice. It's kind of nice. I like the fact that, as you can see here in this picture, if you double click on any MIDI clip in the linear arrange view, it opens up the piano roll underneath it now, and you just get this whole screen, and it works a lot. I mean, that's very similar to Live and Logic and probably Cubase. I can't remember now. It's a very intuitive environment, and a lot of those immediate tools that you need to make fine adjustments to note lengths and velocities and what have you, all there, nice and easy to access on the left there. So that's one improvement. It's got a slightly new look to it all over, sort of a fresher look. It's got tabs at the top now, so you can now flip between the mixer and the sequencer and the rack just by simply clicking on the tag. Of course, the classic tab button that flips the rack back to front is there. There's a new browser. This is it's kind of left a lot of people a bit perplexed because they've detached the browser from the main window. It always used to be on the left-hand side of the main window that you could collapse down and bring back up again. Now it's this standalone box, but the box is constrained within the Reason window. So if you're running multiple screens and maybe you want the browser on a separate window, you can't break it out of the Reason window. It's a little odd. But there you go. It is what it is, but it's got lots of tagging and stuff, so you can find your sounds quicker. And of course, as we said, the thing is, you'll sound faster. There it is, Reason 13. The price for that is around $3.99, I believe. If you want to buy the perpetual license, of course, you can spend £20 a month. and get the subscription, the Reason Plus subscription, and then you're always going to have the latest version plus access to a massive library of content and sounds. There's some new instruments in here. There's the Polytone synthesizer, which is very nice. It's kind of just like a morphing analog synthesizer, very simple to use, and get some nice sounds out of that. There's a new delay called the Ripley Space Delay. There's also some new tools such as a sidechain tool, a gain tool, and a stereo tool, and a few other little bits and bobs that have been thrown in, and there'll probably be more to come over the life of this version. Anyway, thoughts on Reason? I know you guys don't use it, I don't think. I know Kent doesn't.
No. No.
I have done it in the past.
Yeah. Does this tempt you back at all?
I quite like the workflow of it. I'd get it in a heartbeat if they included the goose they had in that track.
Yeah.
So if they had that, I'd get it. You know, and nothing wrong with electronic geese. I've always liked the workflow in it, but it felt like it was falling behind other workflows, you know,
Yes.
or other ways of doing it. A bit like Ableton. I didn't like Ableton's updated, and it's now looking more attractive as a live thing. This is looking much better and more familiar from all the other tools I'm using. And I do like the punch in it, but it's kind of, if it's a choice between this or Ableton, which, and I'm not quite sure, but there are some good things. You know, I've heard some really good stuff and worked on some really good stuff where Reason was kind of at the heart of it, the core of it. So I get it.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you make of it?
I like it. I mean, I still keep Reason, even though I've predominantly moved to Logic and a little bit of Ableton. I keep Reason because it's one of those things that as soon as an idea pops into my head and I just want to get it down, that's where I work the quickest, because it works for my brain. And that's the thing with DAWs, as I've always said. There is no good one or bad one for you. There's just the one that works for you, and you've just got to find it. And there's plenty of options, and Reason is just one of many. I know a lot of people use it as a supplement to another digital audio workstation, which, not Propelhead, Reason Studios, as they're now called, took advantage of. I think it was the last update, Reason 12, or was it Reason 11? I can't remember now, where you can actually now put Reason as a plugin in another DAW, so you can bring that kind of Reason workflow into your into maybe a bigger DAW such as Logic or Ableton or Cubase, and still get all of the benefit of what are some really, really good tools. I mean, that's the one thing with Reason, is they've established that toolkit, and all of the original synths are in there. From Maelstrom and Subtractor and to Thor and Europa and NNXT, they're all still there, and you can still use this stuff, and they're very good. But
I'm sorry to hear your Thor.
The one thing, I just think that Reason Studios they're just stubborn. They know that they could do a lot more with this. It feels like they would say, no, we want to do it this way, and we won't listen to Reason, pun intended, and we won't change things because we don't want to admit that we might have got it a little bit wrong.
And I guess I'd forgotten, because we did talk about this a while back now, I'd forgotten that it is available as a plugin within your own DAW. That is really quite compelling in some respects, because for exactly the reason you said, which is that a lot of people grew up with Reason and used it, often pirated versions, and then they got converted, a bit like with Cubase, etc. So it's familiar, and I suppose having that available within whatever you are using, whether it's Logic or Cubase or whatever, Reaper, Pro Tools, it just makes sense. It makes there's something about that makes sense, and I think I might have to have a word with Per. And see what the story is there. Cause
I know there's lots of established artists that use Reason. Prodigy did a whole album with it. Beastie Boys used it frequently. But Reason don't tend to go in for the big endorsees. They tend to get endorsed. Well, certainly they've never been endorsed massively by anyone that's of any note, really. Another pun. But I think it's one of those guilty pleasures that a lot of people say, "Oh yeah, I use it," but I don't tell people. Yeah, I work in Live or Logic.
Like fettling a Wurlitzer in the back of a van. That kind of
like
pleasure,
that, yeah.
Guilty pleasure. The thing is, I also remember using it because, like with, in the same way as with Ableton, it tends to drive you down a rhythmic bass. Bop, 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 bop. I remember using it for some sort of soundtracky stuff, some themey tunes that were much more acoustic, in nature, and much less, absolute tight timing. And I actually quite liked doing it because you had to bend and break things a little bit to make it work well. But I always ended up with something that was quite different to had I been doing that in something like Cubase or Logic or whatever. So I quite like that. And the more, you can tell, the more I'm talking about it, the more I'm being persuaded that perhaps it's time to jump in and try it again.
One disappointment I've had with this is that since they finally opened the doors to let third-party plugins in, which took a long time to get them to do that, and they thought they'd appeased us by allowing plugins, but it had to be rack extension plugins, and not many people adopted that. They still, even with this update, they still won't support audio units on Mac, and that's just
odd.
silly. And the ironic thing is, if you buy Reason and you then plug it into Logic or Live or whatever, the Reason plugin is available as an audio unit, but they don't allow audio units in their thing. Anyway, Mr. Spong, have you ever been tempted to go down the Reason route? If not, why not?
Because if I want my sounds faster, I turn the tempo up.
That deserves now that we've got it working.
Thank you.
See it all week, try the fish.
No, I've never been tempted. I've tried it out. No, it wasn't for me.
No.
Yeah,
but then yeah, that's fine.
I'm not wearing my T-shirt.
I'm
I know.
a curmudgeon, is it?
Curmudgeon, yes. No, you're not. You're just
old and set in new ways.
No, if it's not for you, it's not for you. I used
crowd
to be a Cubase
shouting,
guy, but it never really. There was something about, especially towards the end of my tenure with Cubase, was that it got in the way of me getting the ideas out of my head. This didn't. This actually did the opposite. It made the ideas flow, which is why I still keep it around, even though I've got other things and have to use those. I can't submit my my podcasts in Reason because they want it in Logic, because that's where how they work. So
yeah, admittedly, I mean, you falling out of love with Cubase was when they released SX,
the worst version,
which was I can't explain to you just how far of the worst version SX actually was.
Oh yeah,
it really was.
Yeah.
It was literally they shipped a virus by mistake.
Yeah, no, it was awful.
Sorry, guys.
But yeah, that's when I left, and I have occasionally toyed with the idea of coming back. Another door almost. No, I can't. Unless there's a compelling reason to do it, and they make it affordable. There you go. So there you go. That's Reason 13. It's out now. You can do a free demo of it. You can even, I think, you can do a free demo of the subscription model as well. And the subscription model, I have to say, is not bad, because you get you get access to a whole bunch of stuff. And you can go into there's a separate program called, what is it now? It's called the Reason Companion. And if you go into that, you can then access all of these sound packs, and they're all little bite-sized sound packs and made by some really cool sound designers. One of those is Michael Oakley, who we've had on the show before, and it's just little bite-sized sound packs with a little theme, and then you just download them all for free, and you install them, and they're there in your rack as soon as you power it up. It's a nice little environment, but I think they're still sticking their they're digging their heels in saying, look, maybe they could just make it a little bit more user-friendly to get a bit more wider acceptance. But
how big's the team now? Has it kind of stayed the same size, the dev team, or have they? What's happening with it? 'Cause
I
it
don't
used
know.
to be.
Yeah, I used to be part of the test pilot program, and so we used to get to speak to the devs quite a bit, and there was a core bunch of people. But of course, Ernst left some years ago. Who, one of the co-founders.
Ernst Nathorst.
Nathorst or something. Yeah, something weird. He was a lovely guy, but he left, and venture capital came in, and everyone was getting a bit worried. I don't know whether there's been an increase or a decrease in headcount there. I know that people like Matthias are still there, and Ryan's still there, and there's a few of the old crew are still around, but they're always a very cool bunch. Whenever I sort of met them at various Propellerhead events around the place, they're always very receptive to ideas, but it almost seemed like, yeah, we like that idea, and then as soon as they walked away, it was just like, bin that. But there you go. But I like Reason for being Reason, and as I said before, I can use all my plugins in it, and I can get all my ideas down very quickly. And then if I really want to expand on it, I can either just spit out the MIDI and shove it into something else, or I can bring in the Reason plugin, stick it in Logic, and kind of work with that as well. So
someone in the chat mentioned that the reason they won't be sort of jumping on board with it is that they simply won't and don't support MPE. But here's the thing. At the moment. But here's the thing. We all in the hardware world are used to using things like MIDI to CV convert. We repurpose old gear and find ways to make it work, right? And if it's good gear, if the sound's good and it creates something that it has a way of working or a sound that we particularly want, we'll find a way to make it work. There's no difference with that in software, and Reason is still a very good piece of kit, and it sounds really good. It has its own unique way of doing things. So you can tell I'm talking myself into this, can't you?
You always say that. We'll see.
Yeah, I know.
We'll see. Let's talk a load of old brass instead.
Brass, why not?
Brass. New brass sample library from Orchestral Tools in Berlin. Let's have a little demonstration first before we do anything else, and then we'll come to Kent, because Kent does half like a brass library. This is new from Orchestral Tools. It's called Bow For. Go. Orchestral Tools, based out in Berlin. I was not aware of them until early this year when I got invited to one of their do's, and sort of had to say, yeah, thanks for inviting me. I don't know what you do, but they do some amazing things, and Kent filled me in on a lot of them. So we'll come to you first, Kent. I mean, that was very Hollywood, very regal, and it seems to be that's what they're going for with this. It's kind of the big thematic, Hollywood
brash
style, that kind of.
Right.
What do you reckon? Is this in your wheelhouse?
Yeah.
Or on deck?
I'm kind of backing away from sample libraries because I have so many. now that it's just ridiculous, and they're all slightly different flavours of the one that went before. The important thing about these libraries, I think, is because I was talking to a chappie a couple of weeks ago, and he says, "Oh, I bought one of the Spitfire orchestral libraries," and he says, "and it just doesn't sound like an orchestra." And I go, "Well, the reason it's not sounding like an orchestra is because, do you know how an orchestra is put together? Do you know what instruments do what particular types of sounds and blends of instruments and stuff like that?" And he went, "No." I said, "And that's why it doesn't sound like it." I said, you've got to be a Hans Zimmer, a Ty Unwin, two names you can actually put in the same sentence, where they know how to use the software. It doesn't come to you and go, "Yes, now you can sound like a brass band." Bang, like that. No, it doesn't work like that. So what makes a good brass library over a bad brass library for the novice or the general normal human on the planet is how well the library comes to you rather than you going to it.
Yes.
So 9 times out of 10 is, like a lot of these libraries, it will just be lists of various instruments in various groupings and tones and styles. And, as long as you know what all the different bloody Italian words for whatever way the note's played, and you know what it means, you can get on with it, and you know how to put it together and make it sound realistic. I don't.
No.
So every time I do it, I just sound like, a geezer who's got a sound that sounds like brass, but, sort of like, really? Depeche Mode? With French horns? Really? That kind of thing. So, I mean, it's all about, the tone is done. It's not that one library is going to sound more like brass than the one before. No. It's simply that it's nuance. So
it's the way it's recorded and for the purpose. And these guys are clearly saying this is a scoring brass library. It's they talk about here power and glory of the classic movie themes to the pomp and circumstance of fanfares. It's a wellspring of celebratory expression, and that's so. If you're looking for something, if you're going to be writing the next fanfare for the King of England to walk into, or you're going to be doing the next big sort of Hollywood blockbuster where you've got a superhero sort of thing, that's kind of, this is it. You pick the library based on the target, and that's why people like you, Mr. Spong, have lots of these libraries, because you pick one. Same with Ty and I'm sure Hans as well. They pick the suitable library, and I know Ty's explained to us over the years that he'll have a composition and he'll be using maybe just one instrument from each library, because that gives him the thing that he wants that the other ones don't. And so you pick and choose. It can be a very expensive business.
Oh, yeah. No, Ty will be the first to stand and say, that he's bought a library that costs like 1,200 quid because there's a flute sound on it that works perfectly on the composition he's working on, regardless of the other 2.5 million flute sounds he has.
Yeah.
And when you're down to that nuance, you really got to know what you want and what you're doing when you go anywhere near these big sample libraries, because none of them, and let's face it, none of them are what one would call economical to buy.
No. Or economical to store. Yeah, because a lot of them are rather large.
Obviously, a safe bet would be something like like Spitfire's BBC Orchestra, for instance. It's a stunning library, and yes, but again, you've got to have an idea of what you are using and why you are using it. But also, you can experiment. Yeah,
exactly.
As well.
Yeah. This costs €499, but it's got an introductory offer with 30% off, so it's just €349 at the moment. All recorded at Air Studios, Lyndhurst Hall in London. Orchestral Tools are up there with the very best of the best in terms of sample libraries. Yeah. So you're going to get something that's very good. It uses their Sign platform, so you download Sign and then it does all the managing, much like the Spitfire audio app does, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, they all follow a much of a muchness in terms of how they're brought down onto the machine.
Yeah, this has got lots of different options and articulations and mic positions and layering and so on and so forth. So it's a very well-specified package. Talking of well-specified packages, Mr. Longhurst, see what I did there? What do you think?
I'm a lot of time. This is clearly aimed at people that have a lot of disposable income or are making their living already from doing film scoring, right?
Yeah.
Honestly, I think it's brilliantly well recorded, as are so many of these things. But I think it sounds really old-fashioned. I can see why someone would want it for a specific thing, a tie or whatever would want this. But for me, it doesn't really do it. And the truth is, the kind of subtlety that you can get from these libraries, and it is extraordinary, you rarely will hear it. Most people using these libraries, it will get lost in a bunch of other reverb and other things coming in. And so the subtlety, the time and effort that's been spent getting that one thing is kind of lost because it just disappears in amongst all the rest of it. Tie, if you're a tie or if you're someone that has that kind of budget, then there might be a sound, a horn or a couple of things in here that you'd want to have as part of your overall library, so just so you can play that one instrument. But I can do 90% of that personally with this, and I'm not releasing a lot at the moment. Believe me, I ought to. But if you're not releasing a lot, if you're just doing it for your own kind of enjoyment, you can get really close with a whole bunch of things. All of the stuff. Again, the Virtuoso 2000, any of those kinds of things, all the JV stuff, all the Roland stuff. You can get really close, and there's a lot of things out there that allow you to get close. So I think what I'm saying here is I get it. I think it's been done technically very well. I can't see a place for it in anything I'm doing because I'm not doing anything that requires it. And I don't think the sound is particularly useful for me in anything that I do. No. I don't think that sort of the sound they've got on this would work for anything I'm doing. But, it's good library, great. Indeed. If you got 350 euros to spend.
Exactly. And as you say, that it's priced and spec'd for the professionals, which is clearly 141 gigabytes of samples, which is compressed, by the way, using their own proprietary format into 58 gigabytes. But even so, that's a big library. It's good quality, 24-bit 48K sampling, with all of those variations and articulations and mic positions and so on and so forth. So you are getting your money's worth for sure. And it sounds, for what it is, it sounds really, really good. But it might not be for everyone. But that is Bow For, which is by Orchestral Tools. I believe the wonderful mods have thrown that up into the chat if you want to go and click on that and have a look at it later. That's fine. Got to say thank you to the Hand of Lenin. Hello. I've not often said thank you to the Hand of Lenin, only on special occasions. But thank you for your donation of $1.99. It's most appreciated. Actually, because it's election season, we're not going to do politics here, but surprisingly for this neck of the woods, we have a Communist Party candidate standing in our ward. And do you know what? I read through the pamphlet, as I always do. Talked a lot of common sense, I thought. Anyway, moving on, a little bit of politics.
That's how it starts.
That's how it starts.
That's how it starts. Yeah.
That's it. But I was just very surprised in rural conservative East Anglia that somebody's got the gumption to stand up for the Communist Party and go for it. Nice one. Moving on.
The Empire.
Yeah, we don't do politics. Yeah, quite. Let's see, what shall we do next? Very quick little bit of news here. This is literally just spreading the word out there. But if you bought into the Liven Mega Synthesis, which was their recreation of the sound engines found in Sega Mega Drives and Sega Genesis, if you are from the other side of the Atlantic, that has just been updated with a new firmware to version 1137, which fixes some bugs and other minor issues, and also some new features while editing a sound in the FM edit mode. The sequence of the selected track can now be played back to test it, resolve some other problems. But if you are a Mega Synthesis owner, and I know that one was a big hit for those, there's a new update for you. So go and fill your boots there. There was also, of course, an update to the Lo-Fi 12 XT as well that came out last week. I think it was, or the week before, one of the two. So Sonicware still churning out updates for their products, which is always good to see. I guess now really we should talk about the elephant. Well, it's not the elephant in my room, but it's the elephant in both of your rooms. And that is, that is the Montage M.
Yeah.
The Montage has received its OS version 2 update, and there is some pretty tasty things in there. So there's 58 new performances. There's a new CFX piano. There's a new CP80 piano in there as well. There's a new shimmer reverb in there. The AMX engine now has a wave folder for more complex waveforms, and they've given the ANX engine use of the smart morphing feature, which of course was employed previously with the FMX engine to great effect. Apparently now implements high resolution data for MIDI 2.0, so that's a good thing, I suppose. And other workflow improvements and enhancements, but I suppose the most interesting news is the expanded soft synth plugin, or ESP. So when Montage first launched, they said that there will be a software version of the Montage, and initially at launch it was just a basic version of the Montage, very basic, very cut back version, but they promised us the full version, and here it is. So this is a Montage M in your computer, sounds and everything, and a whole bunch, of course, of all the editing features right there on your computer screen. So, I mean, who better to ask than these two, because they both sat next to a blooming Montage M8X. There we go. So
Yeah.
I bullied them. I have to say, I bullied these guys because this only came out, when did it come out? Yesterday?
Yeah.
Yeah, yesterday morning, and I was straight on there saying, guys, here's the update, here are the links, go and put it on, because we need to tell people all about this. And I think you both managed to do it eventually. So
Yes.
Kent spoke to me this morning. I'm going to go to Kent first because I prefer him, but also he made
Quite
a
right.
very interesting comment about the plugin. And that's the thing
I
that
did.
interests
That's
me
all
the
right, mate.
most.
Go on.
So tell us about the ESP plugin, because you're quite enamoured with it.
Yeah, I was actually. I think it's very weird. I mean, it's very specific to me probably, but because suddenly there's a montage on the screen, and not a physical hardware one, I found myself with the greatest of ease going in and really, really fiddling around with controls and messing with it. Where previously, like in its hardware form, where I have and turn to play, I was quite happy with just playing presets and going through it and go, yeah, that's cool. La, 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 la. Not moving sliders or turning knobs and buttons at all very much. Get the plug in. Oh, let's start digging. Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, really opens it up for you.
Yeah. And then suddenly I've got, now I have multiple montage that I can record in and not have to do the whole turn business.
Yeah.
And playing it via the HydroSynth Deluxe.
Yeah.
And, assigned all the different pedals to it. It was like, yeah, I like this. This is fun. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah. Andy, what do you think of the plugin? Have you managed to install that yet?
I've got the original plugin.
But you have because you've had problems, haven't you? Sorry.
I've had problems which this highlighted. It's nothing to do with Yamaha. This is entirely to do with another DAW manufacturer and plugin bunch of people that have kind of screwed Cubase and Wavelab and all of that installed for me for the moment. So I wasn't able to install it. I will do, possibly over the weekend. But unlike Kent, I prefer turning here and doing it on the hardware. I still like, the sound of the plugin, even the original, is really good, and I love being able to double up. That's great. But I like, I've been taking a look around very briefly at some of the, some of the new things. The wave folder is quite cool. The shimmer reverb. It's lovely. Lots of controls on here. They've got a new sample. Like they've got the new pianos. The CP80 sounds. It's the best CP80 sample I've heard, and it plays really well, just like the real thing. And the new grand piano, the new the latest
CFX.
grand piano sampling they've got is amazing. It sounds really, really good. So there's a lot to love in here. I've not found anything I don't like, other than the fact that in my hurry, I lost a bunch of user presets that I didn't put on my stick. So, but that's okay. I'll just go back in and redo them. All the CS80 stuff I'd done, all of those, I lost those.
Yeah.
But I know what I did now, so it's not going to take that long.
There you go. I mean, I'm not an owner of one of these at the moment, but I have played with one, and I think it's an amazing tool, an amazing instrument. I love the idea of the plugin, and of course, it's worth pointing out that to obtain the plugin, you must own a Montage M, whether it's the 6, the 7, or the 8. That's the dongle for the software at the moment. But I wonder whether Yamaha, I think we speculated about this at the time, I wonder if Yamaha will eventually release the Montage plugin as a standalone plugin that one could have. Is that going to eat into their hardware sales, do you think, or
depends when and how much they charge for it, and whether or not they do it as a subscription thing. If they do it as a subscription thing, it's not going to eat into their hardware. I don't think so, but yeah. Ken?
Yeah.
No, I concur.
Yeah, you can cut. There you go. Simple, brief, to the point. No, I mean, I don't have the space. If I was going to get one, I'd get the M8X. I do not have the space. I don't even have a space for the 6, let alone the M8X. So the plugin for me is incredibly interesting because the sound set in a Montage is incredible. It's the fact that it's got not only this new ANX engine, which sounds great, and it's got the FMX engine, which has been around for some while now and is very good and very well respected, but it's also got those classic Yamaha AWM2 sample libraries, many of which have been improved upon since the last iteration of the Montage.
Yeah, massively.
It's a spectacularly massive and flexible and powerful sound set. I've said this before that I always looked at the Montage as it's just another Yamaha workstation until a certain Mr. Unwin beat me around the head with a wet fish and said it's a synthesizer, it's not a workstation. And then I started to see it for what it actually was, and completely get it. I completely get it now, but it's a big, expensive thing, but it's a great thing, and I just hope that maybe because new synthesizer sales go up very quickly and then they come down again very quickly, and maybe that's when Yamaha say, okay, so now we're seeing a bottoming out of the Montage market. We can now maybe put the plugin out, because I mean, how much would you charge for the Montage plugin? What would be a fair price for the Montage plugin?
That's a very good question.
Yeah, that's hard to say.
Really good question.
But I would have
What do you
thought.
put it up against?
I don't know.
Yeah, what's it comparable to?
I suppose it's going to be like 300-400 notes, isn't it?
It's got to be, isn't it?
But
It's got to be Omnisphere territory, hasn't
but
it?
not everybody wants an 88 note weighted. And it's difficult to take a plug-in into a pub or a restaurant. So
what's the CPU use like on it? Does it have a?
No significant impact. No, not really. Not on this great big lump
The
anyway.
shimmer reverb. You mean the CPU on the system?
The plugin.
I've run up three copies of it, or 3 different versions of it as plugins, playing some big things, and it's not died on me yet.
Yeah,
it's really not died on
I
me
had
yet.
something running that had 12, and giving it some, and yeah, no problem, absolutely no problem whatsoever.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice.
I was just thinking about the pricing on this. I wonder if rather than doing a single charge, which what I said before, whether they did it as a subscription. And if they did it as a subscription, if you take the cost of it, divide it by half, amortize that over like 3 years, that's going to be the kind of subscription rate. So if you said like two, let's just do the math. So let's say for the cheapest version, which is what, 2008, something like that for the 6.
I can't. Yeah, it's got to be.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Something like that. Divide that by 36. That's 77 quid. So if they did subscription, they did half of that. So subscription, 30 quid on a subscription, something like that. 25, 30 quid.
But then, that's
because
above.
it is a really complete platform. That's the thing. It's got, it is unusual in that it's got everything that's here.
Yeah.
And this is a beast. So if you've got a laptop and you've got 30 quid, 35 quid, either that or they have to charge a decent whack, which is, I think you're right, it's 300 or 400 quid.
Well, I tell you what, something they might do, and it makes sense why they bothered even making the plugin in the first place, is they're going to bundle it with Cubase.
They could do.
Only.
Yeah.
So, for instance, I mean, one of my favourite little plugins, which always delivers what I need when I need it, is PadShop. And PadShop is only available if you have Cubase.
Yeah.
So do the same with the Montage M.
That might be the next stage. I mean, I think eventually they. I don't know.
So more sales of Cubase and all the things that come with that, and use that as the hook.
Yeah. It could be.
Yeah.
But I think that it's something which they've got to want to look at some point.
They've got to, haven't they? Really.
Because then you've got the whole secondary market there as well of libraries and waveforms and God knows what else. Because once you get them onto the ESP, you can then transfer them back to the hardware and vice versa. So, the fact that I could program this together, do something with this, then stick, use my Lappy, one of my Lappies, and just put ESP on there with Cubase or whatever, or if I'm going out live, then probably Ableton. Then that means I can program everything here, and I can just use whatever keyboard I've got, whatever it is, and I won't get the Poly Aftertouch unless I've got one, like the Korg thing. But it means I've got a much more portable package, which means I can then gig it, because I'm buggered if I'm taking this out to a gig.
Yeah.
Not at the moment.
It says interesting. I'm all for it myself.
Here's a question for you. Would you buy the plugin? So if Montage ESP2, would you buy that as a plugin at 400 quid?
I think I probably would. Given that I know what's inside that thing and how good it is, to save me having the bulk of that around, I would. But I think I would. No, I don't think there is a. I think there is a but. I think yes. I think $399 for that would be justifiable.
Yes. Well, I mean, like for instance, I had I'd called up the plugin earlier, and I was looking for a clean Strat guitar sound.
Mm-hmm.
And so I clicked on guitars, and it listed all the guitars that are contained on the Montage, and there's nearly 300 different guitars sounds in there. And then when that's done, there's a load of guitars doing strumming and rhythmic and stuff like that. And on, and it just page after page after page, and it was like ridiculous how many. And that was just the guitars.
Yeah,
you go onto the pads, and it goes on forever. The pianos, my God, how many pianos are there? The
electric piano. There's some brilliant electric pianos in here as well.
But you don't you know, like before we used to get you get a plug-in or whatever, or even a piece of hardware, and you're playing it, and you go, oh yeah, piano 1, and you go, oh yeah, that's nice, I like that. And piano 2, yeah, piano 3, and piano 4, oh that's. This was like, oh nice, oh that's nice, oh I like what they've done with that, that's nice. Yes, oh I could use that later. That one, and just on all the categories, it's just really just. Lovely, and to have it there and have multiple instances of it, not have to worry about reaching the inevitable maximum poly and all that sort of rubbish.
I think what's interesting in the chat is it's kind of split. Some people are saying yes, some people are saying no, some people are negotiating already. 299, 199, under 200.
Do a heavy anymore.
If you put it out at that price, it will exclude people. It's kind of, well, yeah, so does this. It's $4,000 for this.
Exactly.
But you can get.
I had to steal and cheat to get this.
Yeah. I mean, if it's $399, they'll sell a lot of them. But if they put it at $299, they'll probably sell way more and make more money because they're selling way more. So I don't understand the economics of.
This is why I think bundling it with Cubase, because it's securing the other package.
That
has the longevity. And ties in all the other products that come, to Cubase either exclusively or whatever.
Be interesting to see.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Do you know what? Just so I can quell the a few people in the chat, I'm going to move the tile.
Well,
the tile that's been playing.
Oh yeah, I just noticed that.
Yeah, the tile that's been playing the System 55 for the last 2 days.
Anyway, Montage M8X, M7, and M6 have all been updated to version 2.0, which includes all of those goodies, and you can also now get ESP version 2, which is the full-on, full editing, full voicing stuff for your Montage as a plugin. And if you own the Montage, the plugin is free. If you don't, you can't have it. Anyway, moving on, we're going to talk about something else that is Yamaha related. We've got to thank our moderator Ben from Musings for this one, because he threw this up literally just as we were about to go on. This is what made us a couple of minutes late. This is incredibly interesting for me anyway, as a massive Yamaha FM fan. Let me play you the video first, and then we'll talk about what it is and what it's doing here. Here we go. Now, I don't know about you. I'm sold already. I'm buying this thing. I don't care how much it costs. I'm buying this. What is it? It is Sway by Sheath Audio Plugins. It's a virtual instrument modelled after a classic FM/PCM synth from 1989. I wonder what that could be. The goal is to have 100% patch compatibility and to get it sounding as close as possible to the real hardware. And judging by that demo, and there are a number of other demos on there, they are nailing it. They are aiming, so as I said, for 100% patch compatibility. I wish Manny was on his lunch break right now. I'd love to know what he thinks about this. So it's obvious that this is based off of the Yamaha TG/SY 77 and or I guess the 99. It's got the advanced FM engine. It's got the PCM synthesis module with the ability to load SY55 and SY77 sample ROMs, as well as Yamaha Wavecard expansion ROMs. They're really going hell for leather on this. The SYs and the TGs, particularly the 77s and the 99s, are often regarded as maybe, when Yamaha got it absolutely bang on right, because the DX7 and its brethren were great, but when the D50 came along with all of that sampled stuff in there, it just kind of knocked them out of the park. And this was their response, and maybe it was a little late in the day to kind of reclaim the crown. But I guess over the years, it has become a very much loved synthesizer stroke workstation. And I mean, our resident FM brainiac, Dr. Manny Fernandez, has something in the region as probably, I think if you totted up his 77s and 99s, he probably has about 14 or 15 of them. It's mental. But what he does with them is incredible. And of course, he voiced, was part of the voicing team for both of those instruments and before and beyond. So there's just, this is great, and I want to know how much it is. So if I need to start saving, I can. They hope to release it in the second half of 2024. I think, judging by the demos, this is great. I don't know what you guys think. I mean, for me, I keep looking for SY99s on eBay, and every time one comes up, I think, and then I look and think, where would I put it? I've just got nowhere to put it. So. Again, like the ESP plugin, this is a must-have because I can't fit the hardware in. What do you reckon?
Shall I?
Go for it.
So the SY99, the 77 TG77, I think is probably one of the least regarded or most overlooked of the synths at the time, because there was the Korg had the M series, M1, M3, all that kind of stuff, and as you say, Roland had the D, and it had effects in it. So this came out just a little too late. They'd already grabbed the lion's share of the market. But here's the funny thing: every time around about the sort of mid-late 80s, going into the early 90s, I was doing any kind of work with live bands who were serious players. They were all using SY99s, and the sounds coming off them were just amazing. And it was one of those things where, if you knew, you knew, and if you didn't, you didn't. And I already had my DX5 and a bunch of other things, so I never actually got around to buying one. Now, if this is coming out as software, I think like you, Robbie, I'm just going to get this, because it does. I think the other thing about it is, of all of the Yamaha synths up until this, I just think it sounded the best. It has a really, really good sound to it, and it's an amazingly powerful synth engine. What do you think, Kent?
I love this.
Oh, sorry. No.
And I want it. And I want it now, please. Thank you.
Yeah.
Even though, blah, 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 blah. I always want more. But I want something that makes me go, ooh, I want to play that. Yeah. Which this does.
Yeah.
So, absolutely.
Yeah,
it's one of those machines I always wanted to connect. It was always at the wrong time.
Yeah.
And another great reason for this to exist is so people stop sending me these particular types of machines from this era, because they are notoriously difficult to repair. Stop doing it.
Manny's in the chat.
You can't get the parts for them. This
Manny,
needs to exist.
If you've just joined us, Manny, skip back about 5 minutes, watch and listen, and then come back to us, because I want to know what you think. Whilst Manny's doing that, Sheath audio plugins is one guy.
Really?
One person.
Wow.
Their gender is irrelevant and unknown. They're one person. He hopes to. Again, they hope to release it in the second half of the year. So we're just about to get into that. So come on, chop.
They've done some brilliant coding. The UE on it looks amazingly good.
It looks great, yeah, and
it's
sounds
really good.
incredible. I mean, if this is genuine, and I have no reason to believe it's not. This is great. I don't know whether because with those synths, they had two engines. They had the AFM engine, so it was expanded upon from the original DX7 engine, and then they had the AWM engine, which was all sample based, so it's all PCM. Isn't there going to, or is there possibly a legal issue with the samples? I guess, I don't know. How could you get around that? I mean, if you don't include it in the plugin, but say it's compatible with them, I'm sure a lot of this stuff is freely, well, I say freely available. It's available without maybe having to pay. I'm just wondering about the legality, because I don't want him to fall foul of that.
That's a very he, she, it. Yeah, that's an interesting point. That's a really interesting point. I wonder whether or not Yamaha
doesn't ship with them.
Yeah, according to Ben from Musings, it doesn't ship with the Yamaha Waveroms.
Yeah, play it safe.
Yeah. So well, that's sensible, but
it's down to the user then, isn't it?
So there's the company that makes this, which is an incredible. If you have an SYTG, whatever, let me get it into focus. Come on, pick it up. There we go. Sector 101. They do these things called data blades, and this particular one, there is a bigger one. This one has 16 banks of cards, 16 cards on one card. I use it here in my TG500. If you go to their website, you can download most of the content from there. So they're around. But yeah, I just because it's samples. Obviously FM, that's not a problem, but with the samples, so
there's going to be so much library for these. There's so many libraries out there. So buying this, you're not just buying the plugin, whatever it happens to be, but you've got access to a world of sounds, immediately. Exactly, that's already out there. So, and I think it would complement this and anything else really well.
And just like the D50 and the DX7, the SY/TG sound, for me anyway, is very nostalgic for the 90s. The Roland, that whole linear arithmetic that went on to become, the sound canvases and the JVs and all that. And
the JD stuff, all the JDs.
Yeah.
Wow.
Exactly. It's those sounds are just the 90s for me anyway. So it's a very nostalgic sound, and I just want it. I want it now. So I'm going to reach out to this individual and see if we can chat about it. Yeah, very excited. And thank you to Ben for flagging that up and making us late. It's your fault that we were late, because I had to say, gotta get this on, because we need something to pad things out. But no, this is great. Really looking forward to this. So if you want to find more out about this, and I'm sure Ben has probably posted the link in the chat, but it's sheathmusic.com, SHEAFMUSIC.com, and then just look for Sway. That's the name of the plugin.
Is this the only thing they've got? Is this the only instrument they've got?
The only plugin they've done, or instrument plugin, should I say. They've got a couple of other products. One's called Remoter, streams audio to your phone, tablet, laptop from your door, which is an interesting thing. And then there's Grapher, which is utilize any phone, tablet, laptop as an external spectrum analyzer display. I'll be checking those out. But they're also a musician or producer as well, and they seem to have a very comprehensive catalogue of stuff that is available on Bandcamp, Spotify, SoundCloud. All the links are there, so go and check them out. And if you like some of their stuff, buy it. Support these people, because they're doing amazing work. They're doing the Lord's work in bringing this into my life. I want this in my life, and I want it now. Okay. I want it now. I can't wait for this stuff. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that, because I will. So again, thanks to Ben for bringing that to our attention. So we've done that and we've done that. There's not many other things. Where are we? Okay.
Where's Manny?
Yeah, Manny. Hopefully Manny is genning up on this. If he can give us his potted opinion in text form, then it'd be interesting to know what he thinks about it. I'm sure he'll love it.
And compare it directly against the first half a dozen of the SYs and TGs
Least.
and TYs he's got.
That's it. I mean, if
That'll
you're going to
be-
ask anybody about the quality of an SY/TG plugin, he's the man to ask. Because he knows his way around those probably better than he knows his way around Mrs. Fernandez. Shall we move on? This came into my possession just the other day, and I promised the author that I would big it up, shall we say?
Oh, here we go, Dr. Manny.
Oh, okay. Well, that's cool. I think I need his contact information. Well, it's there on the website, I'm sure. So there we go. Excellent. Yay.
The link's just above, Manny.
Yeah. He's active on KVR as well. Excellent stuff. Good. Right. Okay.
Cool.
Electronic Perspectives. I know this has been out for a little while, but I just got my copy the other day, and my word, what a book this is. So this is... so to give you the background, Tom Rea, who is the author of this, used to write a column every month in Keyboard Magazine between the years of, I can't remember what the years were now, 70 something to 80 something. 77 to 81. 77 to 81. And once a month he would write this column in the magazine, and it would be informative, educational, it would just be everything you would want from a music technology historian. So he's definitely, he's one of my heroes for sure. And each of those articles, along with the images, have been faithfully reproduced, as you can see here, flashing by. All of these wonderful things have been faithfully reproduced in this amazing book. And this is available as a big hardback book, and it comes in its own kind of slipcase, and there you can, I think signed limited editions are still available. It's not cheap. It's £80 if you want to buy this. Let's go and have a look. It would do that, wouldn't it? There we go. Open in a different window. Right, so it's 80 UK pounds. Unfortunately, they are rather heavy, and so the shipping is rather expensive. So shall we see how much the shipping is?
Go on.
View cart. Does it calculate shipping here? No. So we have to go to checkout, I suppose.
Got to buy it.
And it gives my personal private information away. £151. There we go.
Bloody hell.
Yeah.
God on a stick.
It is expensive. So this is why Tom sent me 3 copies, because he's asked me to distribute 2. So that's interesting.
Right.
Yeah. So it's not cheap, but it's worth it for the synth head in your life. As you can see, it's a lovely, big thing. Great, amazing book. It comes well packaged as well. So, yes. So, the other thing that I wanted to point out is that Tom has his own YouTube channel, and for some reason, I've lost the link to it. But he's just started this new YouTube channel. I think there was a link here. No, that's not it. Let me waffle while I find that for you.
Well, whilst you're waffling, I can waffle a bit. What have we had any news? Have we had any news regards progress on the Bjork mini Moog book? Because I'm desperately looking forward to that.
Yeah.
I think that's September or something, isn't it?
It is, and it's all on track. So it's going to be coming soon. But yeah, it's all I know is, when I last spoke to Mike and Kim, everything's on track for, the anticipated release date, which, as I say, is around September, October time. So thank for that. I've now managed to find the page that I was looking for. There we go. And here it is on your screens right now. So it is Electronic Perspectives. So it's youtube.com/@Electronic Perspectives. Lots of stuff. You will probably, if you don't know Tom as an individual, you'll probably recognize his face because he pops up on all sorts of documentaries and interviews. And I think most recently he was in the Cherry Audio Chroma advert, or the little mini doc that they did. So there's lots of content on there, and he's talking about each of the chapters, and there's going to be lots more. He tells me there's lots more coming onto that. And there's a big kind of documentary with Matt Traum as well. So yeah, go and subscribe to that channel. It's just started, so please go and give it your support. Go and subscribe to that and hit the bell, as the kids say. So that's Tom Rea and his amazing book, Electronic Perspectives, which is available right now. Okie dokie. We are struggling now because we're getting to. I was just going to. I had some little kind of discussion topics. Before I do that, I don't know if we've mentioned it yet, but tickets are now available for the wonderful Knobcon. It's Knobcon 12 this September, the 6th to the 8th in Chicagoland, USA. This is, of course, the independent yet incredible synthesizer show that is put on by the wonderful Suit and Tie guy, who has been on our show a few times and is a wonderful individual. It takes place at the Hyatt Regency Schaumburg, which is not too far from the airport in Chicago, so you don't have to travel far. And tickets are $75. That's for the entire 3-day event. There's no individual day tickets, just one ticket for the 3 days. You can book a hotel room at the venue as well whilst the rooms last. As you can see, is a massive list of exhibitors and vendors. It's a very well attended, very popular synth event. I am seriously looking to see if I can afford to go to this, although I'm going to be leaving it rather late, I'm afraid. There is also a big banquet that they have on I believe it's the Saturday night. You have to pay extra for that, but it's a fully catered banquet, which apparently is legendary. So just wanted to give that a plug, and we'll continue to mention that across the show until the event's been on. There's a lot
of people that are making modules and synths out there that used to work for any number of the big synth manufacturers back in the 80s, 90s, 2000s. And they're going to be out there. They've been getting in touch to say, do you think you'll be going? And I said, well, I don't think so. But I noticed that Rossum Instruments isn't in there, is it?
No.
Which is
but that's not.
He may be.
I'm sure that list will expand.
Yeah, I'm sure it will.
Everyone I've spoken to that's ever been to Knobcon says it's an absolute riot and well worth going to. So I'm looking at pricings of flights, trying to find the cheapest way to get across.
Look at that, the left-hand side. Erogenous Tones. What a brilliant name.
Look at that.
Yeah. Erogenous Tones.
So yeah, lots
Good.
of. The thing is, I'm looking through this and thinking, yeah, you're a rat.
Rain City Modular. They're going good.
But for me, it's not. I mean, Brad's going to be there with Isla Instruments. By the way, talking of which, right after this show, so we must finish on time because I was on the loo this afternoon and my phone goes ping and it's Brad. He said, "What time does your show start?" I said, "Well, the same time as it always has done, 2 p.m. your time." He said, "Oh, great. Okay, we're gonna do a live stream after you guys have finished." Because he wants to fill everyone in on the progress of the Caladan. And so if you want to get a bit of a skinny on that, then go to the Isla Instruments page. I'm just trying to call it up here now. There he is. He's set it all up. It's ready to go. Come on. There we go. There's the page. June 24. Update live stream starts in about 35 minutes time. So if you want to get the latest update on the Caladan and anything else, I think he was going to do some demonstrations as well. There's an S2400 DSP production update, and yeah, some cool things that he's going to tell you, and some cool things he probably won't be able to tell you just yet, but they are very, very cool. So make sure that once you've finished here, go over there. Simple as that. Good luck with that one, Bradders, and don't forget to come on the show soon. We've not got a huge amount left to talk about. I had a couple of discussion points, one of which was to do with Dolby Atmos. And are we, as a collective now of musicians, are we beginning to sort of kind of say, yeah, okay, we accept that, everything is going to kind of be in Atmos, because finally, Atmos seems to have put down roots, whereas every other multi-channel audio format came and went and never really stuck around. Atmos seems to be the one now, because it's being delivered digitally, albeit compressed, through services like Apple Music and so on. And the reason I brought it up is that this turned up yesterday, which is Seal's second album, which has been it's been released in 5.1 about 20 years ago, I want to say. It was done on DVD audio about 20 years ago, and it's very good. Now it's in Atmos. I haven't listened to the Atmos version because it only got here yesterday. I just haven't had the time. But there is also news coming out of Paisley Park, because they recently had the annual celebration event, which is like almost a week-long event of celebrating Prince and everything that Prince did. And there's something that he did when he was alive, and they've carried it on. But the news that came out of Paisley Park is that Purple Rain is now available in Dolby Atmos, and it is. If you go to Apple Music and other streaming platforms that are compatible with Atmos, Purple Rain is now available in Atmos. And I'm not entirely sure this was something that Prince would have gone for. He never went for it when he was alive. He never went for any of that multi-channel stuff. Diamonds and Pearls, of course, got the Atmos treatment last year, I think it was, and as part of the 40th anniversary of Purple Rain, which, God, that makes me feel really old. It's had the Atmos remix and will be available on Blu-ray later on in the year, but is available now to stream through compatible streaming services. This, I don't think we, as a multi-channel audio enthusiast of many, many, many years, this is like one of those moments like we'd never thought we'd see. An album as massive as this.
How do you, Robbie, how do you listen to your multi-channel audio?
With my ears!
Da-da-da.
It's almost like you set that up, but you didn't.
I'm
How do I listen to it?
sorry. I'm not convinced. I've
Okay.
seen formats come and formats go, and I've got all sorts of speaker systems upstairs in the attic that we don't use anymore or can't use anymore. They go, all right, you said about it's laid down its roots, because it's broadcasting that.
Well,
Hello,
it's become-
NICAM. What the hell happened to that? That was being broadcast. Do you know what?
Yes, but-
No. 2 speakers, one in each corner. Sod it, I'm done.
And that's
Yeah.
Clouds. What are you doing?
I'm
No.
not buying into it anymore. Stuff it.
No, and that's fine.
There is another issue which is interesting, because it works on decent buds and things and headphones if you can do that, but it requires one thing, which is that you have pretty decent hearing. People of our sort of milieu are not going to get the most. Are not going to get the most from Atmos. They're not.
Don't throw me into
What?
your clique of
I
old
said of
people.
our milieu. I was looking at myself and
Okay.
then myself again. Not you old fucker. So the thing is, but seriously, I get it, but I'm just wondering who's going to be buying it, because the people with the money to buy it, the week after next your hearing will go. That's fine. So I'm just wondering, and multi-point systems are great in the studio. I've had them, and I was looking at getting Dolby Atmos in the studio for myself. But honestly, there's just it's a really good thing in specific situations. If you're going to a film theatre, it's great. If you've got everything set up perfectly. If you haven't, you just don't get quite the same thing. So I'm a bit with Kent, but I'm also a bit with you. It's something which I've always liked. But and by the way, anyone with hearing aids of any sort, gone, gone. Phase, all the phase information.
So, I've been listening to multi-channel audio. My first experience of multi-channel audio was in the 1970s when my dad had a quadraphonic system. And although we didn't have much quadraphonic material, it interested me enough because I'd grown up as a young boy listening on headphones or listening, sticking myself in between the two hi-fi speakers and listening in stereo, and I thought it was great. Then all of a sudden, there's stuff going on behind me, which was quite exciting. And then it kind of, it all sort of disappeared. And then we started to get multi-channel audio in the cinema. But of course, in the very late 80s, early 90s, we started to get the ability to listen to that at home. And I was like, I'm so on that. And so my first Dolby Pro Logic system, which just had two speakers at the back that broadcast exactly the same thing. It was just a mono channel across two speakers, a stereo pair at the front, and a center channel to lock the dialogue to the screen. And of course, that's how I got into it. It was a movie thing. I've always been a big movie fan, and so I was buying movies, and you could get Star Wars that was recorded in what they called originally Dolby Stereo, but then became a number of things, and Pro Logic was the home version of it. And so to be able to watch Star Wars and sit there on the sofa and hear, the beginning of Star Wars, hear the Imperial cruiser come from behind you.
That was just,
it was just
in
like,
the theatre.
wow.
That was wow.
Yeah. And now you had it in your own home. And then as time progressed, people started releasing music, and I thought, well, that's interesting. And I was initially a little bit resistive to that because I thought, when I'm sat at home watching my film, we've got to kind of sit on the sofa, which is kind of in the sweet spot, so to speak. And I thought, am I going to have to listen to music in the sweet spot? And the thing is with music, it all depends on how it's mixed, because there are a lot of mixes out there that just haven't been done very well. And they lock the vocals to the center channel because, that's what they do in the cinema. Well, that's not what you should do with music, unless, of course, artistically, that's what you want to achieve. But so many things have been mixed so poorly in multi-channel, whatever format it is, DTS, Dolby, Atmos, whatever, that it maybe has spoiled or did spoil it back then. But I started to really get into it and started to buy lots of material on it. And one of the ones that really kind of blew me away big time was the Depeche Mode catalogue. That they released what was then the first 10 albums in Super Audio CD and also DVD as well. And the Super Audio CD versions, I had, at one point I had 3 5.1 systems around the house. I had one downstairs in the living room, one in the bedroom, and one in my studio. And I remember listening to this stuff and thinking, they've been mixed very well, but what it's actually doing for me in terms of my appreciation of the music is that it's giving each element more room to breathe in the mix. So I'm hearing things that I hadn't quite heard before, and I don't really care whether it was in a stereo image, because even when I was moving around the room or even outside the room, I was still hearing things I hadn't heard before. So it kind of worked on two levels. Yes, there was a positional, me feel like I was in the music, but there was also this thing where I could hear stuff that I couldn't normally hear that was maybe sort of stuffed away in the mix. And I invested massively. I mean, I've still got like 4 or 5 disc players that can play multiple formats, Super Audio CD, DVD audio, Blu-ray, and I've still got amplifiers and AV receivers that do different things with different connections and what have you. I'm massively invested into it, although I have reduced my footprint. I've only got one multi-channel system at the moment in the living room, and I don't get to sit in there on my own and appreciate this stuff as much as I'd like to. But
may I make a couple of observations?
sure.
Very nice of you. What year do you think I first heard quadraphonic?
I don't know. 73.
74. I went to Wembley Stadium. Well, not Wembley Stadium. It was Wembley. I think it was the Empire Pool. And it was April of 1974, and I saw
Floyd?
Brain Salad Surgery.
Oh,
and they
yeah,
had the output from the Moog, the sequencer, going ding 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 ding, and going round and round faster and faster in quad. And I was off my tits, and I bought into it. I just went, wow, then and there, that thing, and spent an age trying to recapture that. And then I remember going in various friends' crappy British cars, Austin Maxes and things like that, where they had, the reason you go in them though was because they had an 8-track with quadraphonic versions of things like Dark Side of the Moon.
Yeah.
And they were great. And if you listened to them on headphones, it was a different thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the probably the most interesting thing, I think it was only a couple of days ago now, or maybe at the weekend, I watched Anthony Marinelli interviewing, I can't remember his name.
Bob Margalef.
I think it was Bob Margalef.
Yeah.
And one of his tricks in the studio is he has a surround system in the studio, but he uses it for monitoring, so he can place different instruments in different places, drums here, bass there, guitar there, whatever, so that whatever it is you're doing as a performer, or, whether it's a singer or a guitar, whatever, you got a mix which felt like you were in a room and gave you that separation, so you could zone in on things you need. So it's a brilliant idea, and I think, I hadn't thought of using it like that in the studio before, but I'm going to be from now on. I'm going to try that. But I still, am I shaking my hand at the cloud or not?
I'm not saying it's for everyone.
I'm going to have to get it now, aren't I? I'm going to have to get the Prince. No, because Prince is just...
Yeah, I haven't listened to this. I've got the Diamonds and Pearls in Atmos, and it sounds very good. So I know Purple Rain. Do you hear more?
Does it give you a different experience to how you remember it when you first heard it? Emotionally, does it take you to a different place?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I still get emotional because I still haven't fully processed Prince's death, and I still don't quite believe that he's not with us anymore. So whenever I listen to anything by Prince, I get a little emotional. And Purple Rain is such an imprint on my life. It's my generation's.
So you're saying it's
touchstone.
Okay that Buddy Holly died, but not that I see controversy. Kent, what do you think, mate?
Do you know when the first time I heard quadraphonic?
Go on.
1965. I was in a lift with a barbershop quartet.
Listen, the one argument that's always seems to sort of come up with this is we've got 2 ears, so stereo is perfect.
No,
which is rubbish.
No, it's not that. It's not that. It's the buying into the system, and then 10 minutes later, it's useless, and you're throwing it away.
Historically, that has been the case. Unless you're an idiot who has got more money than sense, or hasn't got that much money and goes without lots of things to pay for the stuff. Yeah, it has always been like that. You buy into Super Audio CD. They still make Super Audio CDs, but nowhere near as much as.
There's another reason why surround is a good thing, and it is a really good thing. Sound is the smell is a primary sense. It's much more so than vision to a very large extent, because guess what? As animals, we were running around on the veldt, this veldt with high grasses and trees and jungle or whatever else it was. We were running around these spaces, and our first indication that something was going to jump on us and try to eat us, or that we were going to catch something and eat it, was hearing. Yes. And so we have enormously directional hearing, and it's phase related. It's you can not just tell where something is, but how far away it is based on. So it's a really primal thing. So when someone gets surround right, it taps into something that is quite remarkable.
Yeah.
But you're right. Some of the mixing or a lot of the mixing for some of these things has just been, I don't know, their voice.
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
middle,
Let's
boom.
just stick it in the speakers, and it sounds weird. I mean, I've got a number of different versions of pet sounds. All right, so yes, it sounds like sacrilege, but there has been over the years different multi-channel mixes of pet sounds, which is one of the greatest albums of all time, and in mono sounds incredible, just like the Beatles albums in mono. They were mixed for that format, and they are perfect. They sound amazing. And when they did this 5.1 remix, it was shoddy as hell. It was awful. It was absolutely awful. I know it's been done again since, and don't think I've heard the newer versions, but it will be interesting. So yes, there are good mixes, there are bad mixes. The price is off-putting. The amount of equipment required is off-putting. The wife annoyance factor is off-putting because of all the cables and everything. I mean, bless my wife, she's put up with me for years.
So for you, how much better is exterior speakers set up in the right configuration to using your earbuds?
Oh, I mean, I hate listening to anything in these, but unless I absolutely have to. Unless
But do you still get the sense of surround if you're using earbuds?
What with Atmos stuff? Yes, to a point, but it's not as good. It's not as good. If I've got my iPhone, which can output Atmos, and the earphones that will decode it, it's okay. It's nice. Again, you can still hear the separation's a little better, but the thing is with Apple Music, and that's the one I'm familiar with, it's still compressed, and so therefore you lose the quality. Sticking that in a Blu-ray, which is working at proper nice resolutions, as well as the mixing. I've got high hopes for this one. I'm going to try and listen to it tomorrow, but.
And I have to say that I really, really liked when it came out, the Roland RSS system, because it was working from stereo and
That's
bouncing
right.
stuff around behind you and doing what
you remember the
you
demo
had to
they
get it
did?
right, and we worked out how to work that, and we got some great sounds out of that.
Do you remember the Roland RSS demo on Tomorrow's World, which was a live simulcast with Radio 1?
I remember Roland coming to us at Virtual S, the virtual studio, virtual reality studio back in 91, whenever it was. They came to us because they'd got the system over here, but no one over here could work it. They didn't know how to make it work. And the trick was, if you had an input, whatever, I can't remember, 4 inputs, 4 outputs, something like that, or 2 outputs. If you had an input, you also had to have that input fed to something reverberant to create an acoustic space. Place that echo or that early reflection anywhere in a fixed place in the thing, really, really low in volume. But only if you did that did everything else suddenly spring into line. You kind of go, okay, so now I've got something to pivot this on. And it worked amazingly well when you did that. And I think that's probably... And the thing with that was, no matter where you went on a stereo, if any stereo you listened to, you would hear a sound field. So you could walk around it or out of it, and it would still be, so you could sort of... You could do that passing in and out. It was very, very clever. But that seems more relevant to me.
They did this demonstration. It was a Tomorrow's World thing.
In normal.
And they said, it was because this was back in 80, I don't know, whatever it was, mid 80s, wasn't it? It was mid to late 80s. Anyway, it was before the popularization of stereo television, so your ordinary TV speakers wouldn't handle it. So what they had to do is they had to do a live simulcast with Radio 1 on FM, which was stereo. And I just remember setting up, we all got very excited about it, and to watch this episode of Tomorrow's World, which was always great, on Thursday evening, and we put the radio on, and then we just listened. It was just amazing to hear this sound just moving around us, and all we were using was our regular hi-fi speakers. And then they showed how it was done in a very basic, simple way. But yeah, it was very impressive stuff. But there you go. Anyway, that's killed a little bit of time. I've got one more thing that I'd like to throw out for discussion, and this is something I've been considering because I'm expanding my audio interface inputs and outputs, and I'm considering ditching all hardware mixers and just doing everything in the box. So I have all my hardware just plumbed into the computer, and then just output everything from the mixer on in the computer. Now I know that a lot of people, certainly when Chris used to be on the show, he used to come into the stream from Logic. So he would feed his microphone and his instruments all into Logic, and then spit Logic out into StreamYard. And I always kind of thought, oh, that's kind of putting something else in there that that could possibly go wrong. I wasn't too keen on the idea. But I'm just wondering, are we now at a point now that we've got software and hardware that's good enough to literally do all audio routing and mixing within the computer? Or is there still a place for a hardware mixer in our lives? I mean, obviously in professional lives there probably is, but in our field, can we get away now with multiple inputs, outputs on our audio interface and just do everything in the box now?
Well, you can, but you're still having to plug in things to holes and do it. So the only bit you're missing out on is the faders and the matrices. Yeah. So for a lot of it, I mean, Kent's discovered this with his Wing, his X32, and I've discovered it with the various different Focusrites I have and other interfaces, that actually having even a small desk, something which I can physically route out to and back in from, just suddenly increases the flexibility of what I can do, makes it much, much, much easier to handle stuff than just doing it all in the box. But yes, I can do it all in the box. I can do it with my phone as well, so I can control stuff using this. Yeah. But I still have to have physical, inputs and outputs, and the fact that I might want to plug in or unplug things and do things in slightly different ways, it's an odd one. I get the answer is yes, you can. It's entirely possible, and it has been for some while.
Oh yeah.
Do you want to, Ken? What's your feeling on that?
I kind of prefer the hardware mixer on the front of it. Admittedly, with the X32, I mean, it's also part of the computer as well, so it's actually the best of both worlds. But when you got like 40 bleeding things to plug in, sometimes it's just numbers.
Yeah.
You've got 40 cables and you've got 8 ports on the back of your interface.
I think if everything's static, if you're in a studio where everything's static, then it kind of makes some sense. It does make sense. Or if you're in a room, then it makes sense. But if you move anything ever, or you've got things which you don't have up at the moment and you want to bring them in and just, suddenly it makes more sense to have some hardware, even if it's only a small piece of hardware. I think it makes sense to have some sort of mix control somewhere, but there's absolutely no reason why you can't do that with a virtual fader thing as well, which a lot of people are doing, essentially.
It's technically what I'm doing at the moment, because I've got rid of
personal preference, I suppose.
Yeah, I got rid of. Used to have a little tabletop mixer here and a rack line mixer that I generally plugged most of my synths or some of my synths into, and then that would then feed into the desktop mixer, and the desktop mixer would go into my Scarlett interface. Well, since I ditched the Scarlett interface and have gone, hell for leather with the audio fuse and all of its multiple inputs, I didn't need those mixers anymore. They all got removed, put into boxes, out of the way. Don't need them anymore. And my plan to expand those inputs and outputs shortly will probably negate the need for the other 2 line mixers I've got at the moment around the studio, so that I can literally directly feed everything into its own input into the audio interface or its expansion. But what made me think of this was I was on Sonic State this week, and I've got a fan in here because when I close, especially this time of year now, the sun kind of beats down on the window in the afternoon, warms the room up quite significantly. And when I have the door closed, the airflow is not great, so I have to put a fan on, otherwise I'm going to sweat me little man boobs off. And I don't know if you can hear the fan.
What you mean, like this one?
Yeah, well, I put the noise. Mine's only about this big, and it's just clipped onto my windowsill. I've put the noise cancellation feature on StreamYard just to see if that helps. But when I was on with Nick, we all joined pre-show, and I said, "Have you got? Are you getting a good signal from me?" He says, "Yeah, but I can hear something in the background." I said, "Oh, that'll be my fan. I'll turn it off." And he said, "No, if you need the fan, I'll just put this plug-in on your channel, and it strips away." I forget what it was called now, but it's it's one of these kind of noise reducing things. And I listened back to the show, and it's like you can't hear it, and I sound as I normally would without the fan. It was great.
A bit like that, you mean?
Yeah.
All right, mate.
But I thought, maybe that's what I should do. Now, of course, some audio interfaces have facilities, and they're probably very expensive. But I thought, well, if I now do the show, if I set a template up in Logic, for example, I can throw any plugin I want to on any input, particularly the microphone inputs, and control, my stuff and get, a better sort of output, shall I say.
But this means, I think the only downside, and this is going to be like everything else we've talked about so far, which is doors and whatever else, it's going to be personal preference. The only downside to what you're saying is you need to have your computer on to be able to do anything, to be able to hear anything.
No, not with the audio fuse.
In which case, you're sorted. That's fine.
Yeah, because that was the thing that I've got to turn the computer on. But the audio fuse, as long as it's turned on, doesn't matter whether the computer's running, it will function. And you can adjust all the settings. Although you haven't got the access to the software mixer, you can adjust all the settings on the mixer itself because it's got its own little color LCD screen. So that's what.
So you've answered your own question, really.
Kind of have, really, yeah. So yeah, and as Wagyu points out, a few years ago I bought a Yamaha O2R, and the plan was at some point was to make that the center of the studio. I bought loads of expansion cards for it, the meter bridge and everything. It was going to sit in the middle of the studio, and everything was going to go around it. And do you know what? I still might do that because I'm still planning my consolidation here to make some more room. And if it's possible to get it in, I want to do it because it didn't cost me a huge amount of money, but I really got very excited about that and wanted to use it, but I just haven't used it. So
why wouldn't you sell it and get another expansion thing for the audio doof you already have?
Well, this is what I'm planning to buy the expansion for this very soon.
How many expansions can you have?
It's based on they're ADATs. They're ADAT boxes. I can't say too much about them at the moment, actually. But you get one, a box with a bunch of inputs and a box with a bunch of outputs, and each one of those you just connect one ADAT cable into one of the ADAT ins or ADAT outs, and so it's one cable gives you 8 ins or 8 outs. Behringer do a box. I forget what it's called now. The is it AMA 2000 or A?
Yeah.
Which is 8 ins, 8 outs down a single light pipe. An ADAT.
A lot of people use that. So
exactly.
It's actually a really good thing.
Yeah. So I'm getting something similar, but it would mean that I don't need to worry about having, because I've got a sub mixer over there and I've got another one over there. All I would need to do is just buy lots of cables, and it would increase the amount of cable mess that's going around here. But it means that everything's got its own dedicated channel, and I don't have to worry about setting levels on that mixer to make sure that I'm not over pumping this one. And it was just an interesting thing that I was considering. But I'll have to. I think like you say, if I've got something that I can use computer on or computer off, then I've pretty much kind of answered my own question.
Yeah, I'd love to. I'd like to hear it. Go on, you were about to say something, Kent. It looks like.
No, I was saying that. I'll tell you what. Seeing as you've only got 7 minutes left, and we've got to get up on time. Shall we present Fiona's work?
Oh gosh!
Oh yes,
yes, of course.
Well, I thought we'd leave it to the end. Ooh. Right.
You've got that. Right, okay,
Now, bearing
Ken,
in mind,
for
this is at prototype stage, but it's prototype that's physically there. Yeah.
No.
So basically, what we have here, we have this beautiful
What's it
red
made out of?
mahogany. Red mahogany.
Mhm.
It's waxed and polished. Blah 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 blah. And then she has presented us with one of these.
And when you turn it on,
And you only have to get close to it. Oh, hang on. You only have to get close, but
okay.
la la. And you have your desktop ProSynth network.
I quite need
oh.
one of those.
How about that, boys
Yeah.
and girls?
There's a little bit of perfecting to do, but not a lot. She just wants it a bit brighter, and literally, she just ran away with this project. I was going to be doing it with her, and she went, "No, it's all right. It's all right. I'll use the." She's been buying all these different CNC tools and everything. Okay, well, I'll go back down the workshop and get on with repairing horrible old smelly synthesizers, and completely left her to it. She's learned how to use Fusion 360, Eagle software for the circuit board, the works, and I go, right, okay, off you go, darling. So this is all her work.
Brilliant. Well done, Fiona.
And are you going to be selling them?
We're
the
going.
plan.
I think we should have them in the available in the Patreon, and anybody wants to buy one, absolutely. As for how much they cost, we haven't really worked it out.
Well, put me down for one, whatever it is.
Well, the thing is we're not talking about thousands of pounds or anything. But the thing is, she wants to. The first lot are going to be mahogany, but she wants to use American black walnut as her preferred base. Yes,
So that's the Moog. That's the original. Was it the original Moog? Was Bob's tree in his back garden?
It was a
black
client.
walnut?
It was I think it was black walnut. Yeah, it's very similar to the RA Moog cases. So yes, I mean it's a harder, even harder wood, but yeah, no, it's all her own work, and I think she's done a good job on that, though. Do you know?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Because originally it was on the front, and
Yeah.
she goes, "Oh no, you can feel it. I want it to be smooth." So she reversed the graphics and everything, and then re-G coded it so that it comes up on the back instead, and boom.
There we go.
She's a smart little cookie. I'm going to send her a couple of ideas in an email for the next Eurorack module, and she can get on with that and all.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'll just sit here and wait for the money to come in.
Have you seen the responses in the chat, Ken?
Yes, they're very positive.
It's just
Yeah?
ridiculously positive. Yeah, it's a really, really good idea.
I love
Really
it. Thank
good
you.
idea.
Yeah, I mean, she's really, really gone to town with this. Really, I've come down. I come downstairs. Sometimes it's like 3:30 in the morning, and you know when you need a drink of water or something like that, and I'm on my way to the bog or something, and I get onto the landing and go, downstairs lights on, and you go downstairs and there she is, tapping away, building models and doing it. Yeah, I'm just working out how many times. I think we'll do it maybe 2 mil depth passes on that bit. And all right, darling.
Yeah.
Night.
Brilliant. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, when Matt and I came over the other weekend,
Mm.
pretty much all the time we were there, she was sat there tinkering away.
Yeah.
It was brilliant. Yeah, give her a big.
She's been buying herself these bench belt sanders and stuff. She's got a little workshop going on now
Brilliant.
out by the back door there, and she's cutting
Can she
out
print
little bits.
t-shirts?
I wouldn't put anything past that bloody
exactly,
woman now.
yeah. Brilliant
God
stuff.
knows.
Well, look, coming to a merch store near you. Thanks for the preview. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. We've got a couple of minutes left. Just want to say congratulations to Jack Ginnever. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that correctly. Or is it Ginnever? I don't know. Anyway, Jack in Missouri, USA, won the Jordan Rudess signed Mini Moog. I was hoping to get that one. But, of course, we had Jordan on the show a few weeks ago to promote that, and Jack has won it. So congratulations to Jack, and I hope you enjoy.
Yep.
Apparently, he's never owned a Moog synth in his life, and now he owns a brand new Mini Moog that's
Wow.
not just a brand new Mini Moog, it's one that's signed by Jordan Rudess. So congratulations to you, Jack. Well done. Gentlemen, that's it. Thank you ever so much for your company as always. Thank you to everyone that's watching. Once we have finished, don't forget, go to the Isla Instruments YouTube page.
channel.
There it is.
Yep.
It's just Isla Instruments. Their June 2024 update starts in about 55 seconds, so we need to get off the air. But go and check them and Brad out, because Brad's got some fantastic news and updates on the Caladan and the S24 DSP cards. That's it from us this week. We'll be back same time, same place next week. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. That would be fantastic if you do. And we will see you all very, very soon. Have a fantastic weekend. Take care, everyone. Goodbye.
Au revoir.